I'm Morgan Jenness. I'm a teacher, a dramaturg, and an activist. I work primarily in dramaturgical capacities, which means I work with new works in the theater, sometimes film, performance, in terms of working along with the artists to develop their pieces. I also teach at several universities, theater history, dramaturgy, and playwriting, and I also work with political activist groups, particularly with a political puppet group. Well, what attracted me to Hollins primarily was Todd Ristow, who I'd known at the University of Iowa, and his very bold vision that he had for creating a program at Hollins. He wanted to do a playwriting program that was outside the norm in terms of really doing something that would give more opportunities for the playwrights, expand their capacity to work in different ways, and prepare them much more for the realities of the theatrical landscape. Well, it's grown so much, it's become more interesting. Not only has the number of students expanded in terms of and also the range of the types of writing, the diverse voices that are part of the program. Also, there's these new certificate programs in directing and acting, which is very exciting. And the whole festival, which really is attracting the level and caliber of theatrical artists that were like the level and caliber of the people that used to come to Iowa. The festival basically presents readings of plays that are still in process, but that are also fairly close to completion in terms of what they are, what they're going after. They get just a limited rehearsal time, I believe 7 hours, but it's quite extraordinary in terms of the really surprising talent pool of actors in the area and also directors that are part of the program or who are brought in that really present these readings that are staged and very vital and very indicative of the level of work that the writers are doing. Yeah, I like to use organic metaphors, metaphors of flow, water, flow, rhythms. And I also like to use sort of agricultural metaphors in terms of these works are living organisms, like plants, like an orchid. If a play is an orchid, you need to make sure that that orchid is planted in an environment that will sustain it, both in terms of how it grows and it roots and also how it flowers. And this certainly is true in terms of where it's placed, who its collaborators are in terms of a work. And really for writers to realize, what type of work they are writing and what it needs to be as strong as it can be and what it needs to survive, and also where it needs to be placed within the larger landscape of the theater environment. When it starts to fade. When it's not blooming, when it's not blossoming, when it's dying, when it feels like it's not being supported. Also you can do the sort of idea of kinetics, that if something is flowing, if something's alive, that's the most important thing, that the path it takes is not as important as the fact that it's moving, that it's alive, that it's moving forward, that it's moving circularly, that it's getting deeper, that it's raising up into the heights, that there's a kind of movement to something. In terms of a flower, You know when your plants start to die, to wither. And for someone to feel when their own work is starting to wither, I think is really important. I think that's something that you can find in a program. That, it's trial and error sometimes to just realize that very moment so that you don't have to watch an orchid die, but you kind of go, okay, I'm getting too much water, I'm not getting enough water, this is what I need. And to be able to ask, to recognize what that need is, and then to be able to ask for it when you move on, I think is extremely important. It's really understanding what it is that, that is flowering inside you. Oh, I think so. I think because there's a variety, there's not a lot of programs, so there's a kind of particular box of this is what a play is. And I think what's interesting about Hollins is that it's like, well, what kind of a writer are you? What do you need? What kind of collaboration? What are the questions there are different questions for different types of approaches, and that you don't ask a sort of series of questions that are about, this is the box that is a successful play, that how do you fit into this box? But the questions are, what is really going to sustain and help your particular approach and your particular voice as an artist to really become strong and to grow and to blossom into full flower?